It's true.
More joy, right? No, you're almost gonna say.
Opening hat.
Yep.
Nobody's going anywhere. But I think
This one.
which is better. This one, I think, is good. So everybody's perspective. Yeah, and that one should be. I kind of rearranged the order. Angie was here, so.
Yeah. I think she's been talking about
I talked to them on the phone. Yeah, so guys, we have, if you want to use the mic, there's two of them. I'm not going to, because I talk too loud anyway already. This is a small room. But if you'd like to, you can just, ask for the mic.
Yeah, it's time. Hopefully more people will participate.
Yeah, I think there's a room change.
So all of there's signs on all of the doors and all of the bathrooms. But the main, the first page of the program is free. So if you go to switch to the
Why don't we get started so that we can make the best use of our time this afternoon? So welcome to the Student Symposium. My name is Roger Grabowski, and I'm going to be moderating our panel discussion this afternoon. We on the conference steering committee thought that at a conference that's about the globalization of higher education in Japan, where teachers and scholars and administrators have their chance to share their ideas, it's only fitting to give students a voice in the conversation as well. So we'll begin I'm going to let each of our panelists briefly tell us about themselves before we get into the questions. So we can just go right down the line and we'll start.
Hello, I'm Ayaka Isara. I'm a student at NIC International College in Japan. It's over there. And I finished the EAP program there my first term, so I've been taking some classes here at LCJ. And I chose NIC because I wanted to enhance my English skills before I study abroad. And after graduation, I'm going to go to graduate school in the US.
Takashi from Toyogaku University. Now I study global communication. In our school, we have a special program called ALPS, which is an acronym for academic learning and professional skills. In this course, we learn how to do business function in English, such as phone call, resume, etc. And we also learn skills for global workplace, such as communicate with non-Japanese people with using euphemism, body language, etc. We do assignment and role plays, debate, and discussion. And we study academic English in case to if we decided to go to graduate school overseas. The program runs alongside my major, which is international communication. In truth, I really wanted to play tennis in college, so that was my first priority to when choosing university. And yeah, in fact, I I'm still thinking about my future.
Hello, I'm Han from Korea, of course the South one. And then, of course, I came to Japan 5 years ago, right after I graduated from high school, because I just wanted to leave to other countries. I want to move around the world, and Japan was the closest country. So I came and learned Japanese language for 1 year. And when I was learning Japanese, I thought I needed to learn more languages. So I found FJ. I learned English for about 1 year here, and now I'm on second. This is my second year, and I'm graduating. And I haven't decided what I'm gonna do in the future, but next year I will be serving my military in my country, so I can think a little more about my future. Thank you.
My name is Lev. I'm from Russia, from far east of Russia, and I'm from Lakeland College. I chose Lakeland because I couldn't speak Japanese, but I really want to be in Japan, study Japanese culture, be around Japanese people. And I don't know exactly what's going to be in the future, but probably I will go back to my home country. That's the plan so far.
Alright, hi, I'm Tomomi from Lakeland College. I chose Lakeland because my friend recommended me. And I'm graduating this school this semester, and now I'm planning on going to LA to get a degree on sociology. No, it's psychology.
My name is Keiichiro from SGS Tama University. Why I took my school is because I wanted to concentrate in a small class so teachers can advise me more than a large group. And for the future, I haven't decided yet, but through my university, I want to find that matches me the best.
Hello, I'm Keita from Toyogaku University. Also, I am enrolled in Altus program. If you want more detail, ask him. So, also, I'm taking, in addition to Altus program, I'm taking a teacher training curriculum. So the reason why I joined the Faculty of Global Communication is because I would really like to support children facing any problems all over the world, because when I was a junior high school student, I would really like to go to school. However, because of bullying, I couldn't attend school. So I think that if I can use English, I can help children all over the world with my skills of English and teaching. So I'm going to be more than just a teacher. Thank you.
The other one worked. Hi again. A couple of our other panelists are running a couple of minutes late, so when they come in, I'll take a minute to introduce them as well. Hi. Hi.
Dina.
And
Guess not.
when it goes on, it goes on. But we have a list of questions that selected members of our panel will answer. And these questions were contributed by various conference presenters and guests. Many of you who contributed questions are here now, I assume. And then time permitting, we're going to open up the floor to questions from the audience after we've gone through everything. Hello. The first question on our list is, did your high school or your prior education prepare you well for this course of study? And as a follow-up, what changes would you recommend to better prepare students? Should be fine. What changes would you recommend to better prepare students for a more internationally minded college experience? Would you like to go for it, Tomomi? Here.
I think today's Japanese English education doesn't prepare students for taking international academic program. because schools tend to focus on writing, grammars, and vocabularies. And usually teachers teach students English in Japanese. So for the most of students, listening and speaking become weak points. And if I could talk to Japanese government, I would ask them to change English education program into the more practical way. I think we definitely need more native speakers as English teacher in school, and English class should be conducted in only in English. Like I know it sounds difficult, but our Lakeland College conduct all classes in English, even though the most of students there are Japanese. I mean, English is their second language for them. And when I started taking the English program here, I had no confidence with English, especially speaking. But it has been 3 years from that time, and look at me, I'm here. So the aim of English education program should be making students be able to communicate to others in English, but not memorizing sentences. Thank you.
When I was in high school, the teachers didn't prepare anything for the internationally minded college experience. But from my experience, when I lived in Canada, I had a pen pal in another school in class, and I was able to learn living English, the not the textbook English in Japan. And it helped me raise my English skills. By communicating with my pen pal, I was able to learn about unique cultures of each countries. Of course, everyone's thoughts are all different, so I aimed for cultural exchange by showing interest by showing interest to my partners, and I think pen pal would be a good idea to have it on high school class. Thank you.
So I had a little preparation for this course, like in history class or like an ethical class about the racial discrimination. However, we don't have our own opinion about it because of examinations. So we don't just focus. What I had studied was to pass the examination rather than to consider what foreigners are. I should have focused on more content rather than to choose the correct answer. So you should have your opinion from your high school and think what foreigners are and what you can do for others. We should learn this in high school. Thank you.
Let's move on to our next question. Our next question is, what do you think are the key differences between a global program and a traditional university education?
Well, I think the biggest difference is the attitude required of the students. Because in a global program, the standpoint or the starting point is global, so objectivity is important. And that means students are expected and required to be aware of diversity and different views on an issue. And that kind of attitude, I think, provides so many opportunities to widen our views. And that can include the experience to realize that our common sense may not be the common sense of others. And sometimes issues that were invisible to the students can become visible because that kind of issues wouldn't come to the surface if there is no sign or trigger to show that there are issues. And compared to that, the traditional education are much less likely to give that kind of opportunities, and students may be likely to think more subjectively and think only within the sphere of their very limited understanding and knowledge.
Anybody else have a comment on the same question? No problem. Has your global education prepared you to work with people from other countries or other ethnic groups? Also, has it prepared you to work with gays, lesbians, and other sexual minorities? And how?
Well, when your teachers and students are from different cultural or racial, ethnic, or religious backgrounds, it does prepare you to work with them and to communicate with them. But I wouldn't say that it works really smoothly in many cases. Why? Because we still have many people who came from so-called homogeneous countries, so the countries with really strict religious views and some aspects of human lives. And there might be problems. But I believe that schools like this, for example, works like incubator for understanding that people are people and we are the same and we can work together and build something better. Maybe 5 years ago, someone come to me and said, you know, like, you would have many Japanese and Chinese friends and say, get out of here, you're crazy. This is the end of civilization. I would never believe in that. Would never believe in that. But now I have many Japanese friends, Chinese friends, and friends all over the world, right? And apropos gays and lesbians, the same case. I mean, do you know that we are located next to Nichome? This is the very famous gay and lesbian district in Japan. Yeah, if you have any problems with gay and lesbians, go in there for one night and you'll be fine. Trust me. That's what I would say about it.
Well, I think it has to, and I have opportunities to think about ethnic minorities in Japan and Japanese identity as a part of the class curriculum. And obviously, we have so many students and teachers who are not Japanese. So basically, I think that every class can provide opportunity to interact with people from other countries. And as for the sexual minorities, I haven't dealt with these questions directly in class, but I think it's all about accepting and respecting diversity and differences. So thanks to the experiences that I have just mentioned, I think I've become more receptive of these differences and diversity, and thus be prepared to work with people from other countries.
Okay. Before we move on to our next question, I'd like to introduce the two members of our panel who are just joining us now, Moe Morata and Teru Oshiro. They're coming from the Tama University School of Global Studies. And Teru, welcome. This question's for you. But the question is, what expectations did you have about your international education before you started studying at the school, at your school, and how did your experience compare to your expectations? Were there any surprises, for example?
I've been in Canada for 6 years, and I had the promise with Japanese friends, which is we are going to make our own companies in 20 years or 30 years. So I expected to see new people from our own world. So that's I expected. But once I started to go to Tama University, I had to meet more Japanese, not international. So that was a surprise for me.
as you now know, I just chose my school for tennis and English, and so I just expected to take classes which use only English. However, most of my classes were not. I mean, half and a half or only Japanese until I took ALPS. And as you know, ALPS. I hope you don't need any details about that. And yeah, then that satisfied me because there's a lot of task and assignment to do in ALPS, and it's challenging. Thanks.
The next question is a big one, and we actually talked about this quite a bit as we were preparing for this. The question is, what effect, if any, has your education had on your sense of national identity or national pride? Go ahead.
So I think I'm using my own experience to talk about this because I came from Korea and I'm living in Japan and I'm studying in American school. So this is quite complicated situation. I wake up, I talk in Korean with my brother, and I came to school, I use English, and I have part-time job in Japanese company. So in one day, I use 3 languages. So in this case, I am very often asked so many questions about my country, about my situation. So I have to be learning about everything around me. So many people ask me, I have to be able to answer them. So one of my experience is my country, Korea, Japan, and the US is very related, in politics. When I was in high school, I had no interest at all about politics because I was a teenager, just normal teenager. But now, if I see some news or in my class we talk about some politics, history, so I have the opportunity to think about them. Because if I am in Korea, I would not think about them at all because I just study, I'm looking for my job. I don't have to be knowing about politics, but the international education gives me to the opportunity to think about the politics, for example, and in the process I can know about more about me and my country. Thank you.
So by taking international education, I came to look at Japan. So before I didn't realize how great national insurance system Japan has. I thought that's common. or how amazing that almost all Japanese people can read and write. It's amazing. So to know what is going on the world made me appreciate how I live today as Japanese. But I have disappointed at Japanese government few times. For example, before taking a history class here, I have never learned what Japanese government did on Manchuria incident. Or also I learned some international problems between Japan and other countries. But before, I've never learned. So international education made me think about my own country more objectively and deeply and seriously. Thank you.
I thought that the national identity of Japan was a unicentric, consisting of one race and one culture. However, when I entered Tama University, I learned that the people of foreign country and group of ethnic are living together as the same people among the countries, and also notice that Japan is not unicentric, in fact, and consists of people with
many various backgrounds.
Hello. I'm sorry for being late. I really apologize. It doesn't happen that often. But I'm sorry. Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit because we didn't have. My name is Moe Murata. I'm Japanese, but I lived in Belgium for years. So I lived half in Japan, half in Belgium. And I always had an international education because when I was in Japan, I was going to this international school in the Kansai area. And when I went to Belgium, I studied in an international school, in a French international school. And so my back. And no pride. I am Japanese, and I really do like Japan. But I don't have that much pride in my country. It's not because, of course, I like this country, but it's because I have always lived in an international field, and I've interacted with international people, and my friends were, Norwegian, Belgian, American, from various places. So, yeah. And I think that not having too much national pride is important, because then I think, like Tomomi-san said, we are able to see things objectively, and so we can take criticism about our own country. And also, I think it's interesting because we will be able to work with others from different countries without. And with that, I think that international education is interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Moe. I think everybody here who's Japanese has a little. Our neighborhood matsuri is happening at the same time as our conference. So, just. Good thing you couldn't see it while you were answering. Well, the next question. This is getting a little heavier. This is getting really into the deep roots of what global education means. And so, just as a little bit of a preface for the question, the Global 30 initiative, as many of you know, set up by the Ministry of Education to attract more international students to Japan and to make Japanese students more internationally competitive, stresses this idea of global jinzai, right? So I guess translated as global talent or global resources. So that's one way of thinking on one side. However, there's other proponents of internationalization who stress the idea of global citizenship. And so I guess those are perhaps, they're obviously related, but they're not exactly the same thing. So the question is, do you think that Japanese universities should produce global citizens, global talents, or global human resources, in other words, workers, and why?
So my answer is, of course, yes. So especially global citizens. The most important reason is that Japan is an island country. It seems like really isolated. So we don't have an opportunity to face poverty, and we don't know what poverty is exactly. What the worst, we don't know who picked cacaos for chocolate we eat. So we're ignorant. Then we Japanese might know we should help each other. We don't have an opportunity to have relations with foreign country or foreign people or foreign culture. So we scarcely realize that we are members of the social society. So we should be more empathic for the country. Thank you.
Yes, I think we should produce more global citizens to have a wide vision to change Japan, because now Japan has a program with too much services in many places. For example, most of Japanese companies have too much welfare for employees. I mean, lateral employees get too comfortable and too much support. That makes people weaker in surviving and too dependent. So when we get in trouble or when we go overseas, it's full because we can work or live independently, and that is also wasting resources of Japan, I think. And I think university need to help us develop these skills. These skills like we do in Alps now. As you know, I love Alps. If we have lots of global workers, I mean citizens, the company must also change because people will leave if the company doesn't understand global way of thinking. Thank you.
My answer is yes as well. I'm Japanese. I'm 100% Japanese, and I should be well on time and stuff. But today it's not. For me, the global challenge is you can say your opinion first, but me, I'm Japanese, but I can't say my opinion or my feelings. So Japanese university should produce more like me. And yeah, so my answer is yes.
All right, thanks. Well, we only have one more prepared question, but it seems like we're doing okay on time, so I'm going to sneak in a bonus question before we do that. And so, Moe, you did not get a chance to answer one of the questions that we had before that I know you have thought a whole lot about. So we'll ask Moe the question that we asked before, which is, what do you think the key differences are between a global program and a traditional university education?
Thank you. I think that traditional university education offers students from that country their kind of education, which means that the government has a lot to do with the education that they offer in one university in a country. And so the education is probably quite influenced by what the government wants the students to learn. And then you also meet people from countries. I think that in global education, students should learn how to cooperate or to work with other people from other countries. And in that, I mentioned it before, but ethnocentrism or racism is really anti-globalization. So I believe that students should learn about different cultures, interact with different people from different countries, and to be also able to say an opinion, like Sarah mentioned before. And so, yeah, and also have international courses like or cultural world history. It's not some kind of educational system. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. Well, the last question that we had prepared for our student panelists is kind of a big one, sort of a big summary. What aspect of your global education program do you find the most rewarding? Also, are there any potential downsides or disadvantages? Don't complain about yourself. And what recommendations would you make to improve the global education programs in colleges and universities? Yeah. Do you want to start, Hum?
So the most rewarding thing is not, I learned 2 languages in Japan, but the thing is, not learning language is not advantage. I think giving the opportunity to learn the languages is the advantage. Because I really didn't want to learn any languages before because I didn't need it. But if in international area like this school, I have to be prepared for seeing many kinds of people. In the case, not everyone speaks English, not everyone speaks Chinese, so my plan is learn languages as much as possible, and when I'm seeing them, I can prepare for that. So, in other words, I can be very flexible. So, international education makes me very flexible, and in this flexibility, I can have more possibilities to look for what I want to do.
Well, I would like to focus more on potential downsiders of globalization, and because I often see and hear like slogans of global education that you be global and you're gonna work everywhere, you're gonna live anywhere you want, and you will be prepared for anything. And I think it sounds a little bit like utopic. Why? Well, it's easier to say to become global citizen or global worker or global student than actually do this. Because when approach international students, they come here and they gain certain things, certain values, but then they go back to their home country, for example, it may not quite work. And I can give you a very easy example. Like, imagine a white student who is raised in a society where there's a strong prejudice against black people. And I don't know why, but he goes to a country where there are many black people and study there. And throughout the bachelor degree, 4 years, he changes his mind. He changed his belief. He believes right now that every people in the world are equal, and it doesn't matter what kind of skin color you have. But it's time to go back home. He goes back home, and he faces conflicts with his friends, with his family. The same conflicts he faced when he just came to this country before, right? And the student starts feel some kind of schizophrenia or let's say identity problem. Why does this thing work there and it doesn't work here? Am I do I have wrong beliefs or are those beliefs right? And also I hear many complaints from students like, I've been to Japan long enough to stop being right, like Swedish or right American, but I haven't been here long enough to start being right Japanese. So basically, I don't know who am I or who I am. So, and this question raises more questions than actual answers, and I cannot give answers. But it's a good thing to think about. That's what I believe.
Well, through taking global education, I became to explore more various perspectives than I did before, and it's the most rewarding change. And as for potential disadvantages, some occupations are available for only people who in Japanese university. For example, I cannot be an English teacher even though I'm going to graduate American University. That's weird. I think I know how to learn how to teach English, but I can't. I wish international global club graduate qualification will be more accessible in Japan, and I'm sure it's beneficial for Japanese society too. Thank you.
Before we open up the floor for questions from the audience, does anybody on the panel have anything else that they would like to add, or was there any response that you had to a question that you did not answer before? Everyone's looking out now. Okay. All right. Well, in that case, we can open up the floor to questions from the audience. If you have a question, how about you can raise your hand. I will come over with the microphone, and then you guys can pass the microphone between yourselves as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Maria Guajardo, and I'm at Soka University. And my question to you is, what advice would you give to a student about going at your university, but doesn't really know whether they should go global or they should go local? What advice would you, now that you have your experience, what would you say? Think about this or don't do that. What would you suggest to them?
So thank you for asking the question. I think I actually recommended a person to come to Japan, which is my brother, because I think people are usually living in our society and mostly they don't move to other society. But the thing is, people who are living in our society is they don't know what other societies like. So at least, or if it's like just one university, I think just try the university or other international education, and then if he or she doesn't like, she can still choose other options. So giving a try is the point of the international education.
Um, I would like to add, like, as far as I know, Japanese high school students, well, after many years of same uniform, they like many people don't really think what they want to do in the future. First day they graduate from high school, they go and change their hair color, then they put like piercing in the ear. The next day they put like wrapping jeans, on them, and they can make tattoos, and they go to university and they think they're free. So I think we should be focused more on changing maybe the environment of high school, and that's the problem that high school should think of. High school should give more opportunities for students to start thinking in advance and show them that the world is open. That's more important, I think.
I would say to this high school student to choose the way they think is the most difficult. So actually, when I decided to come to this school, my parents all said that's impossible. But yeah, look at me. And I also want to say, don't give up on what you decided. When I started taking the English program here, well, I failed 2 times. Yeah. Oh yeah, you gave me the.
I remember that.
Yeah, I fell, but I didn't give up. So I want to say, don't give up. Keep doing. Choose difficult things. Yeah.
Hello. I had a question about what you are planning to do for your future careers afterwards. Considering the education that you gained through this experience, I've known a lot of Japanese students who have come from Japan and gone abroad. Difficulties trying to work in Japan. So my question is for anyone who would like to answer, where would you like to build your career or your next step, and why? Or how will you use this education for that career?
Hello. I studied in Belgium for 11 years, and in Belgium I did my high school. And, I studied in French, so I'm kind of confused. I'm back in Japan studying in English, and well now my university, and then well right now everything is in English. But I would like to study, no wait, not study, but work in an international field. And in Belgium, there are many opportunities because there's the European Committee, and they also need people who can speak Japanese. So I like to go back to Belgium and to work in Brussels in some way. And that is my future plan. Or maybe if I have the possibility again at the UN, something, I think that would be quite interesting too. Thank you.
Well, I think my case is kind of rare because I've already graduated from a Japanese four-year university, and I have full-time work experience too. And I'm going to start my MA course in the US, and my major will be MTSO, and which I think is the major of the audience. And my career goal is to come back to Japan and teach English in Japan, especially to the youth in Japan. And I want to enhance my English skills and knowledge through my master's study, and at the same time, as said, I don't want to be just the transmitter of the language skills, but I want to teach something more than that, more fundamental things to them, to the students. So that's partly the major part of my going to the graduate study abroad. Graduate school abroad.
So my closest plan is I'm going to military next year because I have to. They want me to do for a year. So in the case I very fortunately I had a chance to, it's called Katusa. It's military police in American base. Because I learned English, it's not decided, but I had a chance, opportunity. I said opportunity so many times today, but I learned in international area for 4 years, only 4 years. It's quite then. So that's basically my plan. And that I haven't decided what I study or what I work, but I am quite sure I can have another or many opportunities with my skills to do something I don't know yet.
For me, it's the same case. I have to go to army. Every Russian has to go to army, so I have no person to think. People will think for me. But afterwards, I will try to work. I will study communications, and I'll try to stick to this field.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay.
From Hiroshima University, thank you very much for your presentations and comments. Just one question, and some of you have mentioned the advantages of the global program, and my question is about sending and disadvantage. And what's now by the Land College to make a further improvement of the global program?
Give a real answer, please.
What recommendation?
Easy exam.
That's most difficult.
That's a tough question.
Space or facilities or member of a full-time?
You can use a mic.
I think some Japanese students hesitate to speak up, so I would like ask you to support them more. Yeah, but actually, Lakeland College is quite correct, so I have no problem.
What do you mean
your question. Can you specify a little bit more for us?
It appears that the program is very good. If you want to make a further improvement on the program, what does the college do for the improvement of the existing global program?
I'm not really sure we can clearly define a global program. That's this is for us. So, honestly, it's a really good question. Well, first of all, Lakeland College should focus on defining global education. What I think, and then we can see.
Actually, as I said, I'm not a student at Lakeland College, but I'm a part of it. As I've been taking classes for 2 terms now, and I felt that I believe the vast majority of the students are Japanese, and some Japanese students are very proficient in English, but some others are not, and those not proficient students are likely to make a group of their own and are not very willing to interact with others. Maybe it's not the case of everyone, but I got the feeling like that. So I think it's maybe profitable if there's more opportunity to kind of force them to interact with each other, like top down. But it's my feeling as a student who are taking the classes here.
Okay. I think we probably have time for one more question. If anybody has another one for our student panelists. Oh, grand finale, Dr.
So,
Tompkins.
well, first, one of the things that strikes me, I'm relatively new here, but one of the things that strikes me and impresses me is when I think that all the work that you're doing is in a language that's not your native language, and how much more difficult the college experience. And so I always remind myself of that fact. And so my question in regards to that is, your friends that are, how does your experience, and does it ever weigh on your mind how much more difficult your task is in a second language than, say, friends that have gone to a university in a native language? Do you have those conversations, and how do those conversations play out between you and the global environment and your global educational environment and your friends in traditional higher education environment?
Would anybody like to go first?
Actually, I went to Japanese university once and I dropped out, so I can compare Japanese university and Lakeland Place. And the answer is, I think, 10 times or more because they are too much homework. Thank you. And it takes time to read the textbook in second language. And sometimes I couldn't understand their question in the exam, and sometimes I cannot write my answer in English even though I know the answer in Japanese. So it's a difficult 10 times or 12. But it was, yeah, it was.
Well, in my case, I studied in Russian university before, and the foreign language university, so it's not such a difference.
Yeah, as they say, it's tough because you know, we have to learn euphemisms or other jargons when we go overseas. So you know, we have to get exactly meaning of the words and things. It's not just translated. We have to get the meaning of the words to get the exactly meaning of English.
Anybody else want to?
In my case, English is my third language because I learned it after Japanese. It's very difficult, as they said, but it's difficult. But the contents of the class is way more interesting, I think, because I choose what I want to do basically. But if I went to Japanese university or Korean university, I couldn't choose what I want to do when I don't know what I want to do. So in Excellent College, it's good to choose what I do. So it's difficult, but I want to say it's more enjoyable.
Oh, go ahead, Mo. Oh.
So, as you know, my English is a little because I've never been to foreign country, so I don't have enough opportunity to speak English, even if in out of class, as he said. So, if I work with foreign people, I think I couldn't understand what he said or what to do. So, actually. I really don't want it to go abroad.
I'm going to say something different. Actually, studying in Tama University for me is easier than before, because before I was studying in a Belgian university. And I think the problem is that in Belgium, when you want to study something, for example, you want to study languages, you have to choose maybe 2 or 3 languages. And because it's Europe, you have various courses. For example, if you want to study Spanish, then you have to take French, and you also have to take English, and you also have to take another language. And so you are completely lost, and that's what happened to me. And so, and also all your courses are chosen for you. You have no choice, and the timetable is also fixed. So what you have to do, well, when you're a student in Belgium, what you do is you study, and then maybe you go drinking, and then you study again, and then you drink, because Belgians love to drink. And that's how it was. And it was hard for me because as a Japanese, I'm not that tolerant in alcohol. So studying with a hangover was like the most difficult thing for me. And now that I'm in my university, I can go drinking with my friends, of course, it's fun. But after that, I have enough time to study. And also, I can choose my own courses, and I can also choose my timetable. So I'm interested in what I study, because they don't force feed me with information. I can choose, and I can also, yeah. So yeah, for me, I think it's a great opportunity for me to study in Tama University. Thank you.
Well, I think that's just about all of the time that we have today for the Student Symposium. But before we leave, absolutely need to give a very, very large round of applause to our 9 brave, intelligent student panelists who volunteered to be here today. Thank you very, very much, you guys. It was a good job. And is it at 3:40? The next panels are beginning in room 2C and in room 3C.
But it's different from the session.
Yeah, actually, thank you.